Live here.
Live!
But we don't have to necessarily know what that means.
What's the someday of Black?
I don't
there's
know
a
that we
reason
want to-
this story happens now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the movie writes itself.
Ooh.
Well,
I'm still streaming. How do I stop streaming? No!
hello.
Hello. Today, we're both wearing hats.
We are. I just got a news notification
Yep.
as we were waiting for that to start
Wow.
about this craziness that is going on with Trump and the Mar-a-Lago documents.
Oh, really? Oh, I haven't seen
my-
it today.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, it's not for this podcast. It just like blew
Not
my
for this
mind.
show.
I was like,
I'm completely
oh,
distracted
oh my gosh, this
because it
judge-
involves a bunch of farmyard animals and a kindly old Mexican lady.
I swear, like it's like what the hell is going on here? I'm just it is beyond crazy. And one day a very good movie will be written about.
I'm sure it
it.
will. I'm sure movies will come out at some point. I'm sure it will.
Yeah, it just won't
I'm
be
sure
written
it
by
will.
us.
Well, hello, Ben.
Yes. Hi, Jake, and hi, Lily.
Hi, Lily. I was just talking
um,
about you, Lily. I was talking about you with a producer, friend of ours, mine, Ben's. But anyway, deal with that later.
So there you go. So welcome back to Ben and Jake Write a Movie.
Yes, we are writing a movie from scratch.
Live.
And what
Yes.
episode is this? 14?
12.
No, 13.
Then I put it in wrong.
Yeah. What day is it? Thursday. We had Monday off. It's episode 13.
Wow, you're right. You know
Yeah.
what? You're
Change
absolutely
that.
right.
Change that shit right now, Ben.
I'm changing it.
Okay.
I'm changing it. Forget that.
When you
It's
start to get to
definitely-
Thursday, you're like, yeah.
It's that part of the week, isn't it?
It is.
So, you know, it's interesting. We have a very specific plan for today. We are going to talk about Hank. And so we are going to get into a quick recap to
We
understand
will get into
how
a quick
we got to
recap,
this
which I will
place.
do now. Hello, listeners and watchers. Thanks for joining us again on Ben and Jake Write a Movie. We started this process with no ideas whatsoever. We came to it with no clothes on. And during the first week, we gave ourselves some kind of specific parameters we wanted to play with. And one of those being a modern day movie. And because we've written a lot of period stuff. And the idea over that week developed into essentially a chase movie, Terminator-esque in style and tone, about a demon hunter who has to save the Antichrist. As we've been developing this idea, we've added another new element into it. And Ben had this very nice way of summing it up yesterday, which was it's Midnight Run meets Terminator 2, with where a demon and a demon hunter have to team up to save the life of the Antichrist. What? I'd go and see that movie. I'd pay you my $5. Last week, we expanded out a lot of our characters. Went into some nice depth, talking about both the human protagonist, who we're currently calling Sam, the demon protagonist, who we're currently still just calling Charlize, because why the fuck not? And then, while your phone's ringing, Ken, silence that shit. And then yesterday, we kind of came up with this new character. We were like, oh, we need to have this demon hunter character who is going to be part of this too. And actually have this kind of three-way dynamic.
Yeah.
And so today we're going to talk about him. And as Ben said, we are currently calling him Hank. But that's changeable. But that's just, placeholder.
Yeah. Before we get into that, I do want to talk about something that came up on a call yesterday with our manager. And it's not necessarily what you're thinking, Jake. It actually has to do with, as we were talking about this project with him, he was very much asking questions about budget and size.
Yes.
And this is something we've talked about already. I mean, in 13 episodes, I think we've probably mentioned budget on most of them.
Yeah, I think so too.
And it's a very difficult thing. I mean, here we are in the earliest stages. We still haven't even fully cracked our third protagonist. And our representation is already asking us, how big is this movie? How much is it going to cost? And there's reasons for that. And I think that's important. So Jake and I wrote The Princess. If you haven't watched it yet on Hulu, it's on Hulu or Disney Plus overseas. Check it out. It's super fun.
Yep.
And The Princess is a $40 million, sub $40 million action movie that takes this fairy tale trope of a princess stuck at the top of the tower and flips it on its head and makes her a badass, and she fights her way down to save her family and her kingdom. Very short synopsis there for you. But the idea basically being that we as writers now, even though we've been working in Hollywood for 8 years and we've done all kinds of stuff at this point, our most recent movie, and the only movie that's been made, our only credited movie, is The Princess.
Yes.
And because of that, our ability to succeed in terms of selling our next project is greatly increased. It's not impossible to do anything else, but it is greatly increased if we stay within certain boundaries that The Princess kind of set for us.
Mm-hmm.
The way he put it was, if I go to someone with a $40 million movie that has all these similar hallmarks of The Princess, I can say to them, hey, these guys wrote The Princess and it got made.
Right.
And having that be a strong selling point.
Right.
And as we talked about this movie, one of the first things he said was, oh, so it's kind of like Constantine. And we were like, well, it's funny. We just had a whole
you should say that because we just watched that movie.
If you haven't seen that Constantine episode, go back and watch the Constantine episode. But we said, yeah, it's similar to Constantine, but tonally it's going to be different. It's going to be lighter at times, more fun, probably more action actually than Constantine, less heavy on the Christianity. And he said, well, what was the budget of Constantine? So we looked it up. The budget of Constantine was $100 million.
In 2005.
In 2005. So we're talking probably
today? 130 million?
Yeah, at least, right? So I would have to say that, like, this made me really start to think. And I don't know, like, what to do fully about how to approach this project and not make people think, even if, and here's the thing, it's all about perception, right?
Yes,
because even if the movie genuinely might cost $25 million to make, if they think in their mind, Constantine, $100 million, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Like we will not be able to sell this without fucking, Chris Hemsworth attached or somebody
as Sam.
As Sam.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's I think we have had these conversations about what elements of this film will look like and when there will be quote unquote demon-y effects. I think Constantine had some big things. It obviously had Keanu Reeves coming off The Matrix.
Yeah, he probably cost a ton of money.
Probably cost
that was easily a $15 million salary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was Warner Brothers making it in a big way. DC property.
Yeah, Francis Lawrence. Yeah, DC. Yeah,
so there are
above the line costs were high. But we're not talking about small above the line costs here.
No, of course. Well, when we're talking about Charlize Theron, we're half joking. We're using that as a kind of a placeholder, especially now that we have I don't like saying this. I don't like this being the kind of thing about it, but there are very few, I think, really awesome, and I think it's a shame, but amazing female action stars who will get a movie made. Can women do it? Of course,
there need to be more.
I would love it. No problem.
I love when I see new ones getting opportunities.
Yes, but here's the thing: you go, who are the names that a studio will go, oh yeah, we'll buy that because it's got whoever in it. Charlize Theron. You go, yeah, totally. But the chance of getting Charlize Theron are like that,
Yeah, no, we know this from other projects. You've got Charlize, you've got Scarlett Johansson, you've got maybe Halle Berry on certain platforms, as we've discovered.
Yeah.
And a a handful, a very small handful of others.
who are really going to make people go, oh, I'll buy for that. So,
Part
so
of the reason we've added Hank.
And that's it. And that's it. And it's interesting because you kind of come to this and you go, well, yes, there is a story concern and also there's a business concern. And ultimately, it's where we're up to. We want to write a movie that's going to get made. And that's the purpose of it. We're not doing it so it can sit on our hard drives. We're not doing it to set up as a sample, to send out as a sample. We're doing
I don't write samples.
That's right. We don't write samples. We want to get this movie made. And what's the way in success for that? Well, at the moment, the present time, and I to be clear, I hope this changes. I want this to change. I really do. And also you go, it's going to be an easier sell to go, let's just say it wasn't Charlize Theron. Let's just say it was someone else. You go, okay, well, we can also put this person, and there are a longer list of names.
Right. Well, here's the thing.
Get something green.
If we can bring the budget to a certain level, that's when it starts to open up. And I think that's part of the conversation and part of the reason our management asks right away, well, what do you think budget is on this? And it's kind of hysterical to go, what's the budget on a movie you haven't written yet?
Yeah.
But
you can start to.
You can start to think about that. Right?
You go, well, we're not going to have a set piece on a plane. I mean, here's the thing, you could do it on a plane. But you're not where it's going to be, and they're dangling out the back and hanging off the side and all that shit. You're not going to do the set piece from the end of Uncharted.
It's not going to be Uncharted. It's not going to be any Tom Cruise movie.
Right.
And you have to start thinking about comps, and you have to start thinking about making sure that you fit into, in the action movie genre, what are movies whereby you can make them for 40 million or less.
Yeah.
And thereby you can get a slightly more potentially up and coming actress to play the role,
well, it was Joey King and the Princess, wasn't it? Joey King had some success. The Kissing Booth movies had her wonderful Emmy nomination. I didn't know Joey King when we started talking about her. And then you go, okay, because I'm not of a certain age group, not sort of a certain demographic. And you go, but this is a person who gets this movie greenlit at that budget level.
At that budget level. And I think that's really important. So I think that, and I do want to talk about Hank today. So I'm not like trying to avoid the Hank conversation.
It's an important conversation because it is the business part of show business.
And it really is a huge part of trying to decide what you're going to write. There's a lot of writers out there, and I have much love and much respect for anyone who says, just write a great story. And I go, yes.
Yeah. But can you write? But here's the question: can you write a great story within parameters?
Yes, and that's my counter is go. Yes, do your great story, but be smart about it.
Yeah.
Think about who is going to watch this, who's your audience, who's going to buy it, who's going to make it. If you're going for an independent film, well, you better fucking think about budget.
And also, to be clear, as you said earlier, our first sale was on an enormous big budget movie. $100 million plus easily, 150 easily.
This was Winter's Night for anyone who
doesn't know. Origin story of Santa Claus, enormous battles with elves and
giant snow monsters,
the whole thing. Like we went for it. We totally went for it. And that was successful, but it was only so successful because it didn't get made.
Yeah,
here we are 8.5 years later, and Winter's Night has never seen the light of day. We did that with 2 other movies straight afterwards. And
big
those
movies,
haven't made yet either. And the first thing that got made was where me and Ben consciously thought, what's the and it's of course it's our manager joked at the time, like we were kind of going backwards in that sense, started off big and then, wasn't the traditional route. So anyway, the point is can you be cognizant of budget going into something? Again, it's not to say it doesn't happen, but again, you have to go, I think me and Ben you and I, talking about you as if you're not here, were incredibly lucky. And there were things that happened that made that happen. It was good. And we were in a period when studios were still taking big risks.
We absolutely were lucky. I do think, look, success in Hollywood cannot be boiled down to one thing.
Yeah.
Does the script have to be good? Absolutely, it has to be a great script.
Yeah.
And is there luck involved? Hell yes, there's luck. Do some people have the fortunate aspect of nepotism? Absolutely.
Sure.
Jake and I didn't, but absolutely it happens. You know, I think that we were strategic in that we saw what the trends were at the time, and we came up with our own version of what those trends looked like. Fortunately, we ended up with a great agent, and we found a producer who was a real hustler. Lawrence Gray knew he was coming from the studio system. He knew what they needed to see it as a movie that could get made. And he gave us notes for months. I mean, we worked on Winter's Night for months.
It was about eight or 9 months, wasn't it?
I mean, I remember the number of times we worked on Act 1.
I know.
The number of times we went through Act 1 of that script.
I want to say 2 or 3 months were literally of that were
just Act 1. But here's the thing. He knew, because he came from the studio system, what could and could not sell. And he kept pushing us to think in those terms, and he kept pushing us to do these notes. And we did them. And then he found directors that were perfect. And again, this is total luck. I mean, we wrote a movie that was about Vikings in that part of the world, and then you've got these directors, Joachim Running and Espen Sandberg, coming off Kon-Tiki, who are literally from that part of the world.
From Norway. Yeah, absolutely.
And they just happened to have the time to read the script, because a lot of times directors, we were just told that directors are like whales. They come up from the surface to eat for a little bit, and then they go down, and you'll never see them until they're ready to come up again. We hit it right. We got them to attach, and then boom, that was what we needed.
The perfect storm.
It was just the right combination, and you and I couldn't have done that alone.
No,
it's something else to really to really understand, if as a writer and as anyone who wants to make it in Hollywood, it is a team sport. It's a team sport, and we keep learning that every day. And it's something that you have to continue to remind yourself. Even though as the writer you start the process, even though you come up with that initial kernel of an idea, unless you're a billionaire, unless you're Jeff Bezos writing your own script, you can't make that movie by yourself.
Totally. And we've talked a little bit about this, and I've talked about this a little bit on my blog the other week. Like there's a moment where it becomes not yours anymore. And that's just the nature of this. It's just the nature of this business.
It is.
It really is.
It is. So I think that as we talk through this project, I want to continually bring us back to budget and know that our target for this movie has to be around $40 million. And that's going to be hard because we're dealing with supernatural, we're dealing with special effects. We've already got 3 leads, which each cost a shit ton of money, because if you're getting stars, your above the line costs have gone way up. With The Princess, it wasn't a $40 million movie plus above the line. It was a $40 million movie, including above the line.
Exactly right.
And for anyone who doesn't understand above the line, just as a quick side note, above the line is your actors, your directors, your producers, your writers. I think that's it. Any IP that you may have to buy. But other than that, like those are your above the line costs. And the reason they're separated out is because those costs are essentially like your high level. They're going to cost the most of the actual production. And so studios kind of look at that as, okay, you've got your below the line costs and you've got your above the line costs. But at the end of the day, if a studio says, we've got $35 million to make that movie. Well, you're still going to divide it out. But if the movie itself costs $30 million, that only gives you $5 million for above the line costs. And that's not a lot. So that's part of the whole dance.
And then you have to work it all out. Exactly right.
I just want to say thank you to Alice real quick. Alice just commented that she just found us and is catching up. We're so glad you found it. Great. I can't wait for you to catch up and join us more and more and more.
I wonder if Palace is her real last name. Alice Palace.
I don't know.
I wonder. Anyway, either way, hello.
Hello. So let's talk about Hank.
Let's talk about Hank. Yeah. And I want us to be aware of, as we talk about him, there are, in my mind, the grooves that we can fall into that are war, that are grooves for reasons because they're war. And even yesterday, as we were kind of half joking about, like, he lives alone in the woods. We
went away from it.
I know we did. But like, even what's the way where you go? I would not expect that. I wouldn't expect.
I mean, honestly, I love that he is a manager at Costco.
I think that's really,
I love it.
It's really interesting. And also, we can still, it's still a very malleable idea.
Of course.
We can start off with that, but it's like, but yeah, so let's have a little kind of delve into and kind of throw out what our unconscious mind has been dwelling on this character over the last 24, 48 hours, whatever it's been.
There's yes. So the first place that I go, and I know it's not like, oh, what was his childhood like? Really, although it could be, it's what made him a demon hunter?
Yes, totally.
Like, how did he know about demons?
Yeah.
How did he become a demon hunter?
And why did he stop?
Why did he stop? I mean that's a whole separate question altogether.
Costco got a great healthcare package. A man's got to make some choices.
They're supposed to be amazing employers. But they're supposed to be amazing. People love working for Costco. It's great. I grew up in upstate New York where there is a grocery store chain called Wegmans, which I love. Shout out to Wegmans. And people love working for Wegmans. They're like one of the best. They're considered one of the best employers, I think, in the country. There's good stuff. Anyway, point is, forget the Costco for a moment. Let's not get to the what is he doing today.
I agree.
I want to know, how did he become?
Yeah, totally. And yes. And again, a demon hunter is different from an exorcist.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they're the same thing. But again, it's like, why does this thing that doesn't actually exist? Like, it's not something people go, oh, what should I go?
Well, I mean, he's a monster. You could call him a monster hunter, a vampire hunter, essentially, like, there are versions in pop culture of these kinds of characters.
Yeah.
Van Helsing. Like, why does someone take on the role of I'm going to dedicate my life to finding and destroying these evil entities?
So, for me, the answer or one idea is that he had an experience when he was younger, where he came across these beings, and maybe someone helped save the day, who then he followed.
Became like an
apprentice. He became his mentor.
Right.
So I think of that maybe, or it was I experienced something I couldn't explain and spent my life trying to figure it out. Maybe, like you said the other day, there's not a bunch of fucking demon hunters around the world. People don't think generally that those things are real, but he had an experience as a young man and was like, holy shit, these things are out there. I need to dedicate my life to tracking these instances down and stopping them. But I think
there's a bit of
experience.
There's a bit of the show Supernatural in that. I don't know if you've ever seen any of Supernatural.
I never watched it.
Basically, if I'm remembering correctly, it's been a long time, but you have these brothers who experience this supernatural. I want to say it was like a demon, but I honestly can't remember how the set piece worked. But this thing that kills their parents, and it sends them on this mission to ultimately go out into the world and stop these things from happening. And there's other complications that obviously are there, and they're trying to figure out what it was, but then ultimately they become traveling supernatural specialists. And people love that show, and it went on for 12 years or something.
Right.
But there's a little bit of Blade in this idea, like in the sense of like, yes, he is a vampire, but he's not like the other vampires, and he chooses to essentially be a vampire hunter because of his experience in life. And he could have gone off and done whatever he wanted. He's a daywalker, but he didn't. He chooses to do this. I think you're right. The easiest and the first thing that you would jump to is, as a young person, they experienced a demonic event of some kind, and that pushed them on this path. Now, I don't dislike it, but I will say it is cliche because
and that's what we're talking about earlier. It's like, even when you say "watch out, there are grooves," you still slip into the grooves.
Exactly.
So
is there another option?
What else could it be? His school guidance counselor said, "You know what you should do."
Right. You know what's interesting about Constantine? I'm just going to bring it back again to Constantine. While Constantine is an exorcist, he's not just an exorcist. He is actually kind of a hunter as well. He uses weaponry that exorcists wouldn't use. In fact, I believe he even has magic, like the comic book character. I feel like he even has like.
I think he does. He's a little bit like Etrigan in that sense.
Keanu doesn't, but Constantine does. I feel like I've seen images of him with like a flame in his hand and something like that.
Sure.
But the thing about him is, at least in the movie, they don't tell you how he got started as this thing that he is. You know that the reason he's doing it is to earn his way into God's graces. And you know that at some point in his life, he committed suicide, and that's why. But you never know.
The point is, though, isn't it, is that because of his suicide, he knows this is real.
Right. Yes, he saw hell. And he also was a psychic, and you learn that he has a strong psychic connection. Yeah.
He's like Van Helsing in that sense. Van Helsing knows when he comes to Jonathan Harker, these things are vampires.
Right.
I come with this knowledge.
Right.
So again, we're not doing the origin story of Van Helsing, but
we're not doing the origin story of Hank. Yeah.
Totally. But it's it's just going to inform, but it is just the question of, why did this person in our world today decide to do something? It wasn't like, I'm just going to choose a career path. I think I'll become a demon hunter. Like, he must have experienced or known that these things were real to begin with.
And who in this world, in this reality that we're creating that is present day, who do we think in this world believes in this stuff?
Well,
like, who believes in the existence of demons that walk among us and try and fuck with us?
Totally.
Is it just the church? Is it just the other religious elements?
If you experience, if you, Ben, went outside right now and you saw a dude with horns who was on fire, who was scratching up your nice new car, you'd be like, shit, demons exist. Because that would be your experience. And not that you're coming to it going, I'm a hugely religious person who believes in God and angels and demons, but that would, your real world lived experience would inform that.
I guess that brings me to another question, though, which is that what demons look like when they're here?
They totally scratch up your car, man. I think it's demons anyway, or it's their kids.
We've talked about them looking like people.
I know, yes, entirely, but yes, there must, yes.
But the reason I say it is, what does, if what I'm saying is that a demon did something, okay? The way we've talked about demons and what they do on Earth is that they come up here looking like people, essentially making bad shit happen to send humanity on the wrong path.
Right. They don't look like demons while they're doing it. They look like
monsters. They look like humans. But I will say it does pose an issue, like you're suggesting
Well,
right now, which
what
is
if,
uh-huh.
what if, when most 99.9999% of people look at a demon, they see a person, but Hank sees them for what they are. We don't know why. We never explain it, but he had an experience one time. And when she comes, the way he sees her is as the woman who's on fire, whatever it is, you know, something dark and weird. And he saw some shit when he was young, and it's why there aren't demon hunters everywhere. Because for some reason, when he was one, doesn't need to be explained. He's just has, when he sees them, he sees demons. Why? I don't know. It's a curse.
So I like it. I think I do want to know a little bit more why, but I really like this idea that unlike the rest of humanity, he can see them for what they truly are.
Mm-hmm.
And they do bad things. I mean, these guys
Totally.
commit murders. They set
Kill grannies.
explosions. They do all kinds of
steal Amazon boxes. They're the worst.
they're the guys that show up on your Ring doorbell.
Exactly right.
Packages.
They're the DoorDash drivers that deliver the food, take a picture, and then take the food for themselves. You know,
they're the ones
causing mayhem.
They're the ones shitting on the floor of the bathroom.
Exactly.
So
it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was a demon. I tried to tell you this.
So, but I like it. I like that he has this uncanny ability. It also gives us an ability to see our demon through his eyes and not have to worry about necessarily showing her this way all the time. Completely. Only when we go into his POV would we see her like that. Or if we wanted to do the mirror thing, we could always do the mirror thing. But that would be from her POV, basically.
Yes, it would. Yes.
So I guess, though, I do want to know why he's able to do this, even if it's as simple as just when he was born different.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm okay. Like if it's like if like some people throughout history had been born with this, it's essentially a psychic ability, so it kind of borderlines Constantine a little bit. But some people are born with this ability to see demonic presences in the same way that some people believe they see ghosts. And some people believe that they have psychic abilities to communicate with the dead. And that's like part of our culture. Yeah. So he was born this way. Mm-hmm. But how did he end up realizing that killing them was even possible? And that he wanted to do that as his life's mission. Mm-hmm. Was there someone who, like, for whatever reason, I think of Highlander. Like, was there another older Sean Connery demon hunter who knew that this kid had the gift, came along and said, people are gonna think you're crazy. You're gonna end up in an asylum somewhere. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna teach you the ways of demon hunting and give you a path. I really like gift that. For good.
He saw something when he was younger. It really fucked him up. He then started to look for clues, whatever. And again, this is all backstory we probably will never know, but just for the purpose of it's the prequel. He began to follow the clues, began to, look for these events happening. And when he was at one of these events, he came across a person who was there too. And he was like, oh, holy shit, you're doing what I'm doing. And this guy was like, come with me. I'll teach you how to be the demon hunter you're always meant to be.
Right. And because you can see them.
That's my best Sean Connery.
It was not a good
He didn't say anything.
No, I was trying to ignore it.
Thanks. We'll have to put up with on a daily basis, people. Abuse.
So imagine, so he had his own Ramirez. Ramirez trained him to be a demon hunter back when he was in his late teens. And he, worked with Ramirez until Ramirez retired or died. Probably
got killed by a demon, most likely.
Killed by a demon.
Yep.
Continued their work. Mm-hmm. And as a result of continuing their work, he also had, he came across Charlize. Mm-hmm. at some point.
At some point.
And discovered that Charlize's crew was this elite crew of demons who did some of the worst things.
Right.
And they went up against each other at some point. Again, I don't know that we'll ever see this shit on screen.
Absolutely. But there is a shared history between
They know each other. And now he is in his 50s or 60s.
Yes.
And he's retired.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he didn't have an apprentice like Ramirez.
No.
He didn't take on an apprentice.
Why did he retire? And he's not retired like, oh, I'm just sitting with my 401k. I'm retired from that. I don't do that anymore. I don't do that.
No, he got a job at Costco.
I
mean, it's not like demon hunting gave him a 401k.
Absolutely right. I mean,
have a retirement
isn't it? And that's the thing, is it's not like he was like, hey, can you pay me? It's like, why? Because I just killed some demons. Like, you crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure, Ramirez taught him how to make some cash here and there. When people were being haunted or whatever, he'd go in and be like, I'll take care of your shit if you pay me $1,000. And he'd take care of the demons. He was like a Ghostbuster in that sense, right?
Yeah.
So they found a way to put some money together here and there.
Yeah, totally. Eight during that time.
But I think he lives in like a shitty apartment.
Totally.
Well,
I kind of want to see that movie now. I kind of want to see the prequel of Hank and his apprentice living out of an RV.
We're writing this one now, okay? That's a different movie.
I'm just saying, that's a good movie too. Just going to put that out there.
I will say that is a really good movie. We're building out a franchise. Maybe that's the series. We sell this. This is a thing now, guys. You sell not just the movie, but you sell it as a full multi-platform franchise.
What I was saying at the end is that, him and Charlize walk off at the end and it's like, so what do you want to do now? Want to go and hunt some demons? Sounds good.
Well, I think he dies in this movie.
Oh, yeah. But in heaven, we have the... Okay, fine. Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
we'll figure it out. Yes.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Point is, he does retire from the job. Now, does he get injured? Does he see something that is too much for him to handle? Does he have a complete and total mental breakdown? Like, is he like,
that's really
fucked up now?
I quite like
PTSD, like hardcore?
That's really interesting. Yeah, he's again, I want to be careful of the Terminator 2 comps. We're the only ones making those comps. So
yeah, and we're probably not going to... Let's be honest, because of budget, we're probably not pitching this as Terminator 2 with demons.
No, we're not. Yeah.
We don't want to put that in their minds because it's a really expensive movie.
Completely. So, but obviously there is this aspect with
her
Sarah
being in an
Connor,
asylum. And
when you meet her in the second one, where she's in a mental institution. And
what's interesting about her is she actually doesn't have an issue. They just think she has an issue, and so
she's a little nuts. When she learns that Miles Dyson's out there, she goes because she's going to fucking kill him.
Yeah,
she
is. You're right. She's a little crazy. She is a little crazy. She's not like totally crazy, but she is a little crazy. You're right.
She's a little crazy.
Okay,
she's like going anyway, but he's out.
That might not be the right move,
Yeah.
I mean, that just might not be it. Maybe there's a way to figure out
But yeah, I want to get to the root of why he gave that up, because I think that's important, because I think that really feeds into his character and it feeds into a moment on screen, which is, I don't do that anymore. Why do I choose to do it this time if I don't do that anymore?
I'll ask a question.
And I'll give you an answer, Ben.
I know you will. Why does he have to be retired? Why couldn't we see him be 60-year-old going into somewhere and taking out a demon? And then when Charlize shows up...
I hear it. I think it makes it harder for our hero. It becomes the obstacle becomes, I got to get this guy who maybe has PTSD, who maybe is a bit broken, who isn't the person he was when he was at the height of his success and the height of him doing what he was doing to do this thing. I don't go and recruit the best. but you're the best I got.
Sure.
That's why I like it. It's
Okay.
because it becomes not just like, hey, I'm going to go and get fucking Tom Cruise.
Right.
It becomes, I'm going to go and get fucking Jeff Bridges. You know?
Yeah. I mean, either way, it could be Jeff Bridges still.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go and get
the
Ethan Hunt of Demon Hunters. Like, I want it to feel difficult, and he's got some shit.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just putting it out on the table as another option because it's not like it's going to be easy for a demon to show up at this guy's door, especially if he's still active, and not get killed.
Totally. Yeah,
like there's still.
Absolutely.
She still wants him to work with her, and then all of the conflict of I'm a demon hunter and you're a demon would still exist regardless of the retirement. The retirement adds another level. But once you get past him coming out of retirement, I'm not sure how much it adds.
Again, it depends on what again, it's the question we're trying to answer. What
might be his arc
made him retire?
Yeah, it might be his arc. It might be whatever that is, whatever that thing that he's dealing with.
Yeah.
He killed a kid.
I killed a kid. Yeah.
Maybe.
Sure, totally. I mean, there's a whole interesting thing, isn't it? Where like
he thought he was killing a demon and it wasn't a demon.
Great. That's great.
You know,
and he's
it was a kid in a costume. It was a Halloween costume.
Totally. Yeah, that's really interesting. Don't go demon hunting on Halloween, Jeff. Or Hank. Jeff Hank, that's his name.
Jeff. Yeah. Maybe he like just never was able to forgive himself.
Totally. I really like that. You know?
Yeah.
I really like that. That's super fun. That's super fun.
So what is that arc then? I mean, like, if I did this all these years, I dedicated my life to it. I've killed a lot of demons. I saw my mentor die.
One kid.
I saw my mentor die. That was the first step, probably.
And, you know, when he was out there doing this, he saw demons kill fucking people.
Yeah.
You know,
it was a hard life. It was a dark life. And then he accidentally kills a kid.
Right.
An innocent. Totally accidental, but still happened.
Yeah.
And he just loses it.
Yeah.
He loses it.
Yeah.
I mean, I buy it. Like, look, like cops, it happens when they act, and then they can't forgive themselves. Yeah. No matter how many criminals they've gone up against before.
Yeah.
You kill one innocent child, and it's like
you might be like, I'm not going to do it. Yeah,
I'm done.
Totally.
I can't risk that ever happening again.
Yeah. Great. I like that.
So
he got out. He got out of the business. He got out of that line of, you know,
he hung up his demon hunting gloves and whatever they are.
Yes.
And got a job at Costco.
Yeah. Or Wegmans.
Yeah, depending on And
he run and now he looks after fresh fruit and produce.
Right. But he has a simple life. He's in his, you know, and he's haunted. His ghost literally is this dead kid.
Totally.
And so how does this journey change him from someone who, because what's interesting about this is he had one accident and he hung it all up. And he stepped away from all the good he was doing. He was literally out.
But again, I think it's the question you asked him the other day about Charlize.
Right.
It wasn't just one event. There were a series of things.
No, I'm actually okay with this being one event because what I'm saying, what I was getting to, is that there's an aspect of him having to forgive himself for that so that he can go back to doing good. That there has to be like there's got to be something that he does internally to resolve the thing that bothers him. And I don't think this was a building up. I don't think it's like Charlize. I think this was I did this horrible thing and I can never forgive myself, and I gave up my whole life and everything I was doing, and that Charlize and perhaps Sam somehow convince him, somehow make him see that that was the wrong choice, that him giving up all the good he was doing.
Yeah, and the other version is that it's that the way Charlize gets him to come and do this job, you know, it's like, this kid is gonna fucking die. 18-year-old, whatever, however old she is. Young woman is gonna die.
22, yeah.
You know, she is gonna die. That's what's gonna happen.
I mean, but I don't know that. I mean, based on what we've talked about so far, I don't know that that works, because one of the things we've discussed yesterday or whichever day at this point was that they have to decide whether they're going to kill her or not, because that's one of the options.
Yeah.
The easiest option would be kill her. Just kill her. Charlize,
and maybe that's the first thing he says. Oh, she's the Antichrist? Kill her. I don't need anything to do with it.
I mean, maybe. Or maybe it's like Charlize coming to him saying, you know, I know you've killed tons of demons. I can't do it. You need to do it. Like, I would do it if I could, but I can't. So I need you to do it. Whatever it is.
Right.
But I don't think it's...
and they don't know exactly who it is at this moment. When they get there, it's this 22-year-old young woman.
So you think...
No, just
they go together to. Interesting.
Yes.
I was seeing it a different way.
Yeah, go.
No, it's just kind of I've been seeing it as she actually figures out and finds Sam, and then realizes she needs more help because the demons are all coming after her. And who is she going to find to get help? She goes and gets Hank.
Do you think it happens in that? So.
That was the order I was imagining it.
Totally. Yeah. The order, and again, this is just one of those things that happens, and this happens all the time in working in a partnership, is you just have, you just see two different things, and you haven't, it's not necessarily anything that you've discussed. And you get to a moment and you go, oh, hang on a minute, I saw that. And it can be as simple as, always saw this scene at day, I always saw it at night.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. To bigger things like this. Yeah. So in my mind, Charlize starts to see the portents. Oh, holy shit. The Antichrist is coming. She's in Portland. Sorry, this person is in Portland. It's going to happen in Portland. All the portents are pointing to Portland.
Yeah,
I'm going to need some help. Let me go to Hank. And I go to Hank, and then and he's like, "Do you know where they are?" And she's like, "I mean, they're in Portland." Great, the Antichrist in Portland. Of course they are. They get to Portland. They find her. And it's like, oh, holy shit, it's going to be more difficult. You're not some gangbanger. You know, you're a young woman who's been a victim of circumstance. And that becomes the challenge.
It becomes, it's interesting. That very small difference, I feel like, changes the dynamics of the movie.
Okay.
And I'm not sure which I prefer yet, but... if she goes to Sam first, I feel like the relationship between Charlize and Sam is the first strong relationship that occurs. And then Hank is the ally that they then bring in
Act 2.
Them.
The start of Act 2.
Right? Probably. Yeah, I mean, in theory, it could happen in Act 1, depending on how we structured it. It could still happen in Act 1.
Yeah.
But it would be the extra relationship brought into the group. Versus if I go to Hank first, then Sam is the extra relationship that we bring into the group. So there is a difference. The movie actually takes on a different shape, just from the story of it all.
It does.
And so
but it's interesting because, and I understand why, and I'll talk about something else in a second as well. The way you pitch it, which I like, is a demon hunter and a demon team up to save the life of the Antichrist.
Sure. Yeah.
And when you say it like that, I go, it's the second version. However, calling it Terminator 2 is the first version, which is the Terminator goes to John Connor first of all,
and then John Connor says we need
Sarah Connor, and that becomes that relationship there.
I don't know that the pitch of a demon hunter and a demon have to team up to save the Antichrist doesn't work with the first version.
Sure, and I think that's what led me into that.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. Yes,
yeah.
I think that for me, yes. First of all, I love the teaming up and the having to work together, but
that
it's
happens
the same way in which Sarah Connor and the Terminator have to team up to work together.
That's right. Yeah,
I feel
and you don't feel that Sarah Connor in that movie is not an important part. She's a fucking pivotal part of that movie.
And look, we can meet Hank at Costco in Act 1, no problem. The way that we met Sarah Connor in the mental institution before they end up ever getting to her.
Right.
It doesn't mean we can't cut away to him. It doesn't mean that he's not a pivotal part of the story.
Yeah.
I just think that the deeper bond, the deeper relationship that starts at the beginning is Sam and Charlize, this Antichrist and the demon. I don't. That's just what my gut is telling me right now. Now, when we get into writing pages, maybe we end up going, actually, you know what? It fits better over here, and we'll move this shit around, and whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's just kind of where and like I said, it just changes the dynamics of our trio. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like I see a scene, for example, of Charlize and Sam walking up to this apartment building, and 22-year-old Sam is like, "What the fuck are we doing here? Who is this guy?" Well, he's a demon hunter, and she's like,
"Yeah,
you're a demon.
And
why are we going to a demon hunter?
And he lives above a Chinese restaurant,
right?" Like, there's something fun about their banter that I want to encapsulate their relationship before I even necessarily add him to the team.
That's fine. I mean, again, like you said, I think both work. I think, given everything that we talked about last week, like, I do enjoy the dynamic of Sam and Charlize together. I do enjoy that dynamic a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe that needs to get established first. So I think that works just fine. Let's
put some of this down because
let's put it down in the document. While you're doing that, I'll remind everybody to first of all, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do so. Again, primarily it helps with the visibility of this channel. The more subscribers we have, the more that this is going to appear in searches, etc., etc. You can also click the little bell in your corner. You'll be notified every time there's a new episode. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Jake Thornton, THORNTON. Don't misspell my last name like so many people do. And Ben is at Ben_Lustig. You can also find us on Facebook as well at facebook.com/Lustig Thornton. Here's our beautiful document. It's open. Let's write down some of this shit.
So let's talk about Hank for a second. We said that Hank was born.
No, he wasn't. Oh, okay.
The ability,
to see demons in their true form.
Demons in their true form.
Yes.
Something only a few people, something that's rare.
Totally fucking rare. Like a handful of people across the world.
Is very rare.
Yeah.
At a young age, he was found by Ramirez.
Yeah, or through his experiences began to do his own thing. And yes, he encountered Ramirez.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we could talk deeper about that if it ever comes up as a plot point, but I don't know that I see him just becoming a demon hunter all on his own. I don't even know like why someone would think that was like a thing, or like what, like how would he know how to kill them? I mean, that's a whole other story depth that we would need to go into. Like, did he like start studying the occult?
He started studying demonology. He went to the Vatican.
Like he made his choice. He's like, I can see these things. Like, I don't know. I feel like he would need someone to
either way
validate that he's not crazy.
He encountered a mentor who, Highlander style, began to teach him how to be a fully fledged demon hunter. That's the importance of this relationship.
Yes. Totally.
At some point, this character died. I think was killed in front of him.
At some point, the character died on a mission.
Yeah. And Hank took over the mantle of being this person.
Hank took over the mantle. But one day, killed a kid in a costume. An accident and we could actually cut. What if? Ooh, this is, I don't know, like that he'll never forgive himself for. But like, what if after Ramirez died, he started drinking, and part of the reason he ended up killing the kid was because he was drunk?
Yeah, sure, maybe. Yeah, perhaps.
You know, like I want to believe. Again, this is probably not seen. It's all just talk.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely right. Yeah.
He could still like, or maybe he just took up drinking after he killed the kid. But either way, like I'm trying to figure out like what are the flaws that we're going to see today because of all this stuff that
absolutely
happened.
Right. Yeah. He's basically he's a broken man when we meet him.
He's a broken man when we meet him. And I think that, he gave up being a demon hunter and now works at Costco. He lives in an apartment. He lives alone in an apartment.
Chinese
restaurant. You know, it'd be cool. Although it might be like totally needs to have a pet, whether it's a cat or a dog or something that we create lore that knows demons and can see demons, so that it like is the way in which, like if like the cat is like his alarm system kind of a thing.
A teacup chihuahua.
Yeah. With his with his animal pet who can detect demons.
Yeah, the dog starts barking. He's like
it's that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so structure, we're saying
we'll meet him early in Act 1. Well, we can meet him but again, like there's a nice reveal of like we've got to go and find a demon hunter. Cut to this guy, doing the schedule at Costco or Wegmans, and.
But I also go like, why do we need to know that he's a demon hunter? Like, why can't we meet him in his normal life as a person who has problems as well? I don't know.
Yeah, we can do. I just don't know why I'm meeting him, perhaps.
Well, I think it would obviously be character. I think we'd be meeting him to understand who he is so that...
Well, we'll discuss that, I think, when we get to the structural aspect of it. I don't know if we'll meet him in Act 1. It was different with Sarah Connor because we already knew her from the first movie. If I'm just going to some dude working in a store, I go like, what? Why am I don't know. We'll have a call. I think when we get to structuring it out a bit more, we can have that conversation. Again, we can write it one way and then always rewrite it. It's the beauty of the delete key.
Sure. We meet him top of Act 2. That's fine. Let's continue thinking about it because, again, for the sake of sellability, this needs to be a role that is not necessarily second fiddle, but also not necessarily top dog.
Okay. The way that I think we could make it work if we were going to meet him in Act 1 is to somehow link it to the plot.
Okay.
If it were to be, he, again, whatever the portent is, we're with this guy. We're like,
and this is why I was like, if he's not retired, he could, in theory, be also demons. If the demons are coming out more, Anyway, yes, keep going.
Where I was going with it was, he turned. We're with him, and we're like, why are we with this dude? He's just buying Costco, and then he turns on the news, or he pulls up his phone. He sees a thing on his phone that is one of the portents, donut store in Portland struck by lightning twice. And we're like, oh, he knows something because he's just seen the same information that Charlize has seen and we've seen react to.
Well, that's interesting. In that case, then I would actually, there's a version there whereby he doesn't need Charlize to have him come out of retirement when he sees that the Antichrist is here. comes out of retirement of his own accord just for
Uh-huh.
this one purpose, and he comes to kill Sam and gets in a fight with Charlize there and goes, why the fuck is a demon
That's really
protecting the
interesting.
Antichrist?
That's really
And
interesting.
then
Yeah.
that's our first obstacle, but then we end up teaming up
Mhm.
together, and she's
Yeah.
like,
Cool.
we can't kill her.
Right.
It's wrong.
Then the way I'm meeting him is like I'm actually bringing you into plot. It's not just I'm watching a person at Costco because reasons.
Act 1, because he sees something
Yeah.
that tells him.
I mean, it's clear. We've come up with the idea. I don't know why I keep rejecting it. The donut shop is struck by lightning twice. Okay.
Tells him
When the ring of fire is da 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 da.
that Sam is in Portland. He comes out of retirement
For one last job.
for one last job to kill Sam.
Yes, to kill the Antichrist.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's cool.
That's great.
Cool.
That's really great. I know we're at an
Awesome.
hour right now, so
We are.
this was pretty good. This was a pretty good day, you know. And again, I hope you people watching or listening to this show see the way that we're constantly developing ideas, bouncing off. Oh, I like that. That doesn't work. How can we build upon that? You know, it's just the way that that we do it. And yes, hope it's interesting.
Chris asks a question here before we sign off. Chris says, is it just me, or do you agree there's been a bit of a lift in your excitement for this project since you switched gears on your protagonist yesterday?
Yeah.
And I would say yes.
I would say
absolutely.
yes.
But I think that there hopefully is always a lift in excitement the further we get, because if you're not continually getting more and more excited about what you're coming up with, you might not be coming up with good stuff.
And that's it. And I really think that that's it. And I do agree that I've felt that. You kind of go, oh, what if? Oh, what if? You know. And ultimately, and it's just this thing, isn't it? Is you gotta love what you're writing, because you're gonna write and write and write on this. You might be on this project in some way for years of your life. Years. I mean, we have a project that's come back right now, talking about it with our producer this morning. It was 6
years. 6 years.
Was it 6? Even 6 years. I mean, it's still long. It's a long ass time. You know,
we've got another project that just came back that's 10 years old.
10 years, absolutely right. And we read it again and we go, "Oh, I love this thing."
Yeah.
You know, so
But you have to. Yes, I think that this new direction with these new protagonists is giving me a sense of, with every choice that we make, I start to see the movie clearer in my mind.
Yeah.
With every choice, I go, oh, that puzzle piece fits now.
Yeah.
Ooh, it really is like putting a puzzle together. And the closer you get,
but it's funny, isn't it? It's like you've lost the lid to the puzzle.
But as you're putting it together, you start with the border, right? And as you get the border together, you're like, ooh, I'm getting close, And then all of a sudden you see a piece, you go, that's a face. I got the face.
Great analogy, isn't it? It's writing a movie from scratch is putting a puzzle together, but you've lost the box.
I love it. We've just coined that.
Yes.
You can quote Lustig and Thornton say, writing a movie from scratch is like putting a puzzle together, but you've lost the box.
I really like that. Well, look, Ben, thanks so much. Good session today.
Thanks, everyone. We will see you hopefully tomorrow. Join us tomorrow. I think it'll probably be in the afternoon as well.
Yeah, I should think so.
Yeah, this was great. Awesome.
See you then.
Thank you.